Tonight on News at 9, anti-Saitam protest. University students invades health ministry premises. Over 40 injured.
First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, dengue crisis. Prime Minister says steps taken to curb the spread of dengue and the government will continue to ensure public safety. Bodubala Sena, Venerable Galabudatte Gnanasaratthera surrenders and court grants bail after police had no objections. In international headlines, Queen's speech. Queen Elizabeth addresses Parliament amidst key promises made during elections. And in sports news, fitness issue. Sports Minister stresses that fitness tests must be compulsory for each and every player. Well, Brexit continues to dominate the Queen's speech delivered to the British Parliament today, while many election pledges have been omitted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh Johnny for Other Derana 24/7. We will be taking an in-depth look at the Queen's speech later on, but tonight we begin here at home, where a dengue crisis, a protest and a political backlash is making news across the island. 52 people, including 46 students and 6 officers of the Police Special Task Force, were hospitalized following a clash between university students and police this evening during a protest. It was organized by the Inter-University Students Federation, Medical Faculty Students Action Committee and the Inter-University Bhikkhu Federation against Saitam.
A court order was given by the Petta Magistrates Court yesterday ordering the protests to be conducted peacefully. Following its commencement from the town hall this afternoon, the protest march made its way through the Dizoisa roundabout, blocking Ward Place and Kinsey Road. This led to a severe traffic congestion. The students then entered Suvasiripai of the Ministry of Health and took the control of all 4 stories of the building. They even obstructed staff members attempting to leave the building. Students then caused extensive damage to property in and around the building. Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development, Sagla Ratnayaka, had directed the Special Task Force to take measures to prevent students from causing damage to the property of the ministry. Police later used batons and water cannons to disperse the protesters, with 85 personnel having to seek medical attention, of which 52 were hospitalized. 25 female students are also among the admitted.
මාලවේ සයිටම් මහෝසි නොකරන එවෙනුවෙන් කඩේ යන එකෙක්ගේ කුබ්බෑමට විතරයි. තව බඩු තියෙනවා එහා පැත්තේ අපි දන්නවා. ඔත්තුව වැරදුනා නේද? තොපි මරලා දැම්මත් ඒ සගන අරගල
Meanwhile, police said if the damage caused to state property is valued at over 25,000 rupees, it would be an unbailable offence.
The dengue epidemic has reached catastrophic proportions, placing the latest death toll at a staggering 205. Most of the deaths were reported from the Western Province.
68,053 dengue patients have been reported within the past 5 months. 42.62% of the cases have been reported from the Western Province. 14 districts have been enveloped by the dengue epidemic at present. Health officials say that there are several varieties of dengue and the second variety is currently spreading rapidly. Meanwhile, Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine, Dr. Ratna says that the government is considering the importation of a vaccine and a variety of mosquito larvae in a bid to combat dengue.
This mosquito is herbivorous. Its larvae consumes dengue larvae. It is 15 times larger than dengue larvae. There is also a new bacteria which has been discovered in Australia. Spreading the bacteria will stop the spread of dengue as it kills dengue larvae. We have informed the government and the private sector to clean garbage between 9:30 and 10:30 am on Fridays. The implementation of the programs are telecast through media.
Meanwhile, other Derana witnessed garbage being piled up at the Ministry of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine.
Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena says that in order to curb the dengue menace, everyone in the country should rally around towards a common goal. The President made this statement while taking part in an opening ceremony of several units at the Attanakadavala Mahavidyalaya in Polonnaruwa. The President also presented awards for students who excelled in education and extracurricular activities at the school. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, answering to an oral question raised by UPFA parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena, elaborated on the measures taken by the government to curb the spread of dengue in the country. Presidential Task Force on Dengue meets every 2 weeks and makes necessary decisions. Relevant health authorities have been informed to inspect the area and launch due cleaning process, including fogging. With the identification of a dengue patient, 100 intensive care units have been set up in hospitals and it will be increased to 500 units. Separate units for flu patients arriving at OPD units of hospitals are being set up. Measures have been taken to use small hospitals exclusively for dengue patients. Small wards for dengue at all major hospitals are being set up. Dengue prevention programs are implemented in dengue-prone areas with the assistance of tri-forces and police. The government has already taken above steps to control the dengue menace in the country. Also in Parliament today, the Office on Missing Persons Establishment Administration Discharge of Functions Amendment Bill was passed with a majority. In other local stories, the General Secretary of the Bodu Bala Sena, Venerable Galabudatte Gnanasara surrendered to the Colombo Magistrates Court this morning. Subsequent to being produced before the Fort Magistrates Court, the Venerable Thera was granted bail.
General Secretary of the Bodu Bala Sena, Venerable Gnanasara was issued 2 arrest warrants following his failure to appear before court on 2 counts. He failed to appear before the Colombo Magistrates Court and the Appeals Court. Several complaints were lodged against the Thera at the Police Organised Crimes Division. However, police failed to record a statement from Gnanasara Thera as he failed to appear before court over the past 2 weeks. Furthermore, the court proceeded to issue arrest warrants against the Thera. 6 days following the issuance of the arrest warrants, the Thera surrendered to court through a lawyer who cited threats over the Thera's life as cause behind the absence. Prior to being produced before court today, the Venerable Thera's statements were recorded at the Police Organised Crimes Preventive Division for over 2 hours. DIG Kamal De Silva stated that he did not have any objections over the Thera being granted bail. The General Secretary of the Bodu Bala Sena, Venerable Galabudatte Gnanasara was ordered to appear before court on the 10th of August. Meanwhile, police media spokesperson DIG Priyantha Jayakodi was grilled by journalists at the Cabinet media briefing today pertaining to the Thera's arrest.
4 police teams are totally deployed for this purpose for a long time, and we checked so many places, but we couldn't appear.
Have you been instructed by someone on the
No,
nothing. Follow different strategy?
Nothing. Yeah, that's why. That is, we checked, but we failed.
Minister of Social Empowerment S.P. Dissanayake today responded to the special statement made by the Chief Prelate of the Asgiriya chapter of the Siam sector, Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Gnana Ratna Thera. The minister said he regrets the fact that the Mahasangha is disappointed by comments made by the government on recent events of extremism. I feel as if some of the points raised in the statement were directed at me, so therefore I would like to apologize to the Most Venerable Mahanayaka Thera and the Sangha Sabha for causing disappointment by us. The objection of the Sangha Sabha were mainly directed at the lack of respect extended when speaking of Jnanasara Thera. While I apologize for it, it was also evident the fact that the Thera's conduct was unbecoming. As a result, the respect towards the Thera has declined. The view of the Sangha Sabha of the Asgiriya chapter is also our view on the matter, as our issue is with the Thera's conduct and not with the certain ideologies of his. We are aware of actions by certain groups who proliferate extremism, and Jnanasara Thera is also culpable of it. It is the responsibility of the government to prevent any extremist frictions. Announcing cabinet decisions today, Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says that the reforms on the constitution will be completed within 2 months. The minister made these remarks when a journalist raised a question on the current status of the reforms.
This proceeding, I think the summarized reports had been published, and that is being discussed by all the parties at the moment. So in about, I think, a couple of months, we can come to a final conclusion on the constitution.
Decisions taken by the Cabinet of Ministers during the meeting held yesterday was revealed at a media briefing today. Accordingly, Cabinet of Ministers had approved the establishment of a committee to coordinate UN Human Rights Council recommendations. Thereby, a committee of ministers chaired by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and a committee of officials to assist the particular committee will be appointed. Cabinet of Ministers had then approved a proposal to establish an offshore Sri Lankan rupee bond program by the International Finance Corporation. The Cabinet of Ministers had also approved the publication of the amendment bill on revoking simplified value-added tax in Gazette and its presentation in Parliament. Meanwhile, the proposal made by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs to draft a new act for using liability management for debt management and to take other necessary steps in this regard has also been approved by the Cabinet. Approval has also been given to the proposal on disposal of waste to recognize lands under environmental laws, take judicial actions to prevent public protests on waste disposal, waste to be disposed only after grading, provide necessary tools for local government authorities and increase awareness of general public for resolving issues risen in Colombo and suburb areas. In other local stories, Minister of Plantation Industries Navin Dissanayake states that banned glyphosate herbicide is necessary for large-scale tea production. He made these remarks at a media briefing held at the UNP headquarters today. It is difficult to do commercial agriculture without pesticides. We saw how tea production went down as a result. If any of those factories have to be shut down, a few thousand families would be facing difficulties. It is a social problem. Prime Minister appointed a committee to look into the matter and they have submitted their report. We will not lift the ban on glyphosate imports. Discussions are underway on providing glyphosate to large-scale tea production factories. Although importation of glyphosate is banned, this herbicide is circulating in the market. It's been illegally imported. Isn't it better to regulate this process while letting it be imported into the country?
Meanwhile, Minister of Agriculture had this to say regarding the matter.
Because of this ban, all farmers started using other methods for their crops. However, we also have an issue with farmers requesting glyphosate. So we are planning to arrive at a decision on this issue. It was revealed that 3 primary dealers, including Perpetual Treasuries Private Limited, did not pay income tax for 2 financial years from 2014 through to 2016. The matter was brought to light during today's session of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the controversial bond issuance, as income statements of 7 primary dealers were presented to the Commission.
Assistant Director of the Department of Supervision of Non-Bank Financial Institutions of the Central Bank, Prasanna Sedara, appeared before the Commission of Inquiry today and presented the income statements of the primary dealers during the time period of the controversial bond issuance. The statements revealed out of the 3 primary dealers who profited during the financial year of 2015 to 2016, Perpetual Treasuries Private Limited has posted the highest profit of 5.4 billion rupees, which is 86% of the total profits of standalone primary dealers. It was also revealed that Perpetual Treasuries Private Limited was among the 3 companies which had not paid tax on the profits generated from 2014 to 2016.
Well, close to 3,000 children with heart diseases and critical illnesses in Sri Lanka do not have timely access to treatment for congenital heart disease in the country, one of the leading causes of deaths among infants. With the aim of raising awareness and helping those in need of treatment, 5 doctors from the UK has joined hands with Little Hearts by making a journey across the length of Sri Lanka to raise funds for this worthy cause and ended their travels at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital in Colombo today.
Nearly 10 out of 1,000 infants die before they reach their first birthday due to congenital heart disease, which is the main cause of infant deaths in Sri Lanka. However, the Children's Heart Centre wing of Lady Ridgeway Hospital, the only hospital that provides specialised treatment, is now capped and it can only treat up to 1,700 children with CHD annually. 60% of critically ill children are at risk as they do not have appropriate access to treatment they desperately need. Having heard the need to expand health services for congenital heart diseases, 5 doctors from the British Cardiac Society travelled over 700 kilometres from Dondrahit to Point Pedro to raise funds to construct Lady Ridgeway Hospital's cardiac and critical care complex.
Discussion, we decided that Little Hearts was by far the most worthy charity for us to try and raise money because it touched all the areas that we really needed to. Children, so important in all of our lives, to give them extra care for their heart is so important.
This is an incredibly valuable initiative. So we are adult cardiologists, and generally the patients we treat have age-related diseases of the heart. Here you're dealing with young children that may have easily correctable heart deficits, and you're adding much more to life than we're capable of doing. So we're all touched by the idea that we can make investments much earlier on in life.
Just cycling through the villages and the towns and seeing ordinary people living their lives, everyone was friendly, waving. Children would race us on their bikes, so we really felt welcome in the country.
What we have achieved, what I'm really happy to have achieved, is to raise awareness. You might wonder, why have we chosen to ride from the south of Sri Lanka to the north? That's symbolic of the fact that this is a nationwide, an island-wide initiative.
Known as the Cardiac Cycle Sri Lanka, an 8-member team of specialist doctors, including Peter, Divakar, Michael and Rob, was able to raise 3.5 million rupees that will fund the much required 2 billion rupee initiative. I am at one of the wings located here at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. Now, as you can see behind me, many children come from many parts of the island to receive treatment at only this one hospital, Lady Ridgeway Hospital, which provides this health facility for heart patients. Now, through this initiative, it basically serves as a reminder that everyone should come forward in order to bring a better life, a better future for the children.
On to international news now. A host of proposed new laws designed to prepare the UK for a smooth and orderly departure from the EU have been announced in the Queen's speech. Of 27 bills, 8 related to Brexit and its implications for key industries, as well as a bill to convert EU rules into UK law. There are measures on trade, immigration, fisheries, nuclear safety, agriculture and sanctions.
Mr. Speaker, the Queen commands this Honourable House.
Delivering the Queen's speech prepared by ministers on her behalf, the head of state outlined the government's plan for the next 2 years. Conservative Prime Minister Theresa May has had to drop several high-profile campaign promises from the speech after losing her parliamentary majority in a June 8 elections that left her politically weakened. The speech mentioned an upcoming state visit by King Felipe and Queen Letizia of Spain, but made no mention of any state visit by US President Donald Trump. A spokesman for May said that the Trump visit was not mentioned because no date has been set. Media have reported that Trump was now reluctant to come because of potential mass protests during his visit. The British government and the White House have not confirmed that. Well, in the latest of a spate of terrorism attacks across Europe, Brussels was rattled late last evening when a man set off a small explosive in the city's central station. Brussels has been on high alert for more than 18 months since Islamic State militants based in the city carried out attacks in Paris that killed 130 people in November 2015 and later bombed the Brussels airport and the city's metro in March last year. Local media reports say the attackers had been wearing a suicide vest and had shouted out Islamic slogans prior to detonating a device on a luggage trolley in an underground concourse of the railway station. Now let's get reaction to both those stories. Joining me now is Anuradha Herath, Derana's Chief International Affairs Analyst. She joins me now from the newsroom. Thank you very much, Anuradha, for joining us. Well, the Queen finally made the speech to Parliament. However, key promises made by the Conservative Party have been omitted. Why do you think that is?
Well, if you remember, we discussed last time about why the speech was delayed, right? So Theresa May was trying to form some kind of an alliance with the Unionist Party, but that has not materialized as she has expected. So she's even in a weaker position than she wanted to be as of last week. So because of that, the policies are really watered down from what the manifesto originally was. Some of the unpopular proposals have been eliminated altogether, while others have been significantly revised so that she's hoping to just barely get this passed from the House of Commons and, not have to be any weaker than she really is at this point. And her ultimate test will obviously come in about a week after the policies are debated and the House of Commons votes on it.
Well, one of the areas that she has been focusing is on Brexit, and Brexit is something key to her government, the current government, and we know that even the next year's Queen's speech has been suspended by the Prime Minister. So what has she been focusing more on during this speech?
So as you said, obviously much of it is about Brexit. The repeal bill will, start the process of converting all EU laws to UK laws and putting the Parliament in control of what, making the changes to the laws as necessary. And a lot of the proposals touch upon a variety of sectors: agriculture, fishery, trades, taxation, all these types of things that will have a direct impact on the UK people. And remember, immigration too. So now some citizens from some countries who were able to go to the EU and travel around very freely on one visa, the UK is not going to be a part of that anymore. So bulk of it was on Brexit, but a couple of other non-Brexit interesting proposals. One on data protection that says that people can mandate or require social media platforms to delete personal information when they reach the age of 18. How that's exactly going to be implemented, I'm not quite sure, but that is on the table as well. And then another really good one, I think, on domestic violence. They propose to set up a commission to help survivors and victims of domestic violence, and also a really important one where they say that the victims don't have to face their alleged perpetrators, which I think is really significant. So those are really two interesting non-Brexit related proposals that they have put forth.
Anuradha, well, you just saw a little while ago on the story about Brussels, and there has been a terrorism attack, and how the entire Europe has been on a shutdown in terms of security. Now, security is quite crucial to Britain itself, because you saw several attacks, back-to-back attacks from ISIS, certain ones, and then there were non-ISIS related issues as well, but still security is a key issue. So how does the government in this new environment is addressing that through their new policies?
They do have several proposals related to counterterrorism. One particularly interesting one is where they have said that they want to stamp out all extremist ideologies and all its forms. Now, if you think about that, that's really interesting language that they have used and potentially problematic, because how do you really define extremism in the first place, right? So what's an extreme thing to me might not be to you. So that's really a potentially problematic thing that I see, but that's what they have put forward. So they are definitely addressing counterterrorism issues.
All right, Anuradha Hera, the Derana's Chief International Affairs Analyst, we have to leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, Colombo Bourse reported back-to-back gains on today, driven by foreign inflows to the premier blue chips. We now have Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with the latest update.
Top 5 gainers of the day were SNB Leasing, non-voting, Blue Diamonds, non-voting, Renuka Capital, The Finance Company, non-voting, and Test Agro, non-voting. While the top 5 losers were PC House, Bogle Graphite, Lotus Hydropower, Anilana Hotels, and Swarna Mahal Financial Services. Today's foreign purchases were 518.23 million rupees and foreign sales were 259.17 million rupees. There were 7 crossings today and the crossings turnover was 343.4 million rupees.
Let's move on to sports news now. Minister of Sports Dasiri Jayasekara says he has put together a plan to solve the fitness issues plaguing Sri Lanka cricket. Speaking at a media briefing today, the minister stated that fitness programs will be implemented for Sri Lankan cricketers from the grassroots levels and testing will be compulsory for all players in the future.
There will be fitness tests implemented in the future and only players who pass it will be allowed to play. Professional athletes are expected to maintain a body fat percentage of 12% or below. However, we have some players with 20% of body fat. That has to change. I'm not saying our players are not talented. We have the talent needed to succeed. For the first time, we trained 800 coaches from grade 1 upwards and we will look to add between 500 to 1,000 every year going forward.
Also in cricket, compounding India's humiliating defeat at the hands of cross-border rivals Pakistan in the final of the ICC Champions Trophy, the head coach Anil Kumble has resigned, citing a rift with captain Virat Kohli. Kumble's original contract expired with the team's Champions Trophy campaign, but the former captain was tipped to get an extension after enjoying a successful run during his year in charge.
According to local media, Virat Kohli found Kumble's brand of coaching a bit too assertive and their relationship was beyond repair. In his year in charge, the former leg spinner, also India's most successful bowler, led the country to 12 victories in 17 tests with just 1 loss, having also won ODI series against New Zealand and England. India play a 5-match ODI series and a T20 in the West Indies starting on Friday.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, cloudy weather is set to dominate the island over the next 24 hours, particularly in Dambulla and Kalmari. Meanwhile, intermittent rains and strong winds blowing from the southwest part of the island will blow across the western, Sabragamo, central as well as southern parts of the island. Now, in the east, however, dry weather is expected over the next 24 hours with some heat also forecast. It's now time to have a look at the city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. News at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join me for that. And before we go, we want to take you tonight to Beijing, China, where the exhibition Oceans of Flower presents a sprawling landscape of paper accordion decorations, which, when folded, turns into weapons such as handguns, AK-47 assault rifles and bullets. Created by Chinese artist Li Hongbo, the exhibition was originally displayed in Sydney in 2012. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.